What's really going on, everyone? Back again with a special episode. This is a special collab that Henry helped set us up. So, before we introduce our special guest, be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms. That includes Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at WRGO Pod. Be sure to like, listen, and subscribe on all of our streaming platforms. That includes YouTube and wherever you get your podcast from. So, today we have the pleasure of doing an amazing collab with Kayla Pasacreta. She is the co-founder of the Executive T, which is a great site that we have engaged with that is kind of doing what we do. That's the intersection of politics and culture. They do a lot of great work to get people up to speed on a lot of stuff that happens in politics. So Kayla, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Hi, hello. I'm super excited to be joining and talk about everything that's going on.
Yeah, no. So the reason why we had you join is because originally we were having these conversations. There was obviously a debate, and we haven't talked about it yet. Obviously, the debate has been a huge thing. Overall, I think Kayla, what have been kind of before we just kind of just all talk about it together? What were kind of your big takeaways from the debate and kind of the conversations that have stemmed after that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I didn't take away too much new information from the debate. I expected Donald Trump to lie a lot. And I know that the president is aging. So I would say I wasn't really surprised in terms of that. But I think the discourse after has kind of shocked me. I didn't know that it was going to go on for this long. And so I feel like I'm kind of tired of talking about the debate at this point. But I mean, if we're talking about where they stand on the issues, I do think that Joe Biden spoke really strongly about where he stands. I think he wasn't really equipped to kind of like respond to Trump in the moment, like rapid response, like responding to his lies and kind of like having those kind of like gotcha moments. And so Trump was able to kind of get away with a lot of lying, which, is hard because I think the average person watching the debate or looking at the clips is not probably going to do the most research afterwards. So it is really dangerous when you have someone who kind of lies like that and they're not getting fact checked in real time, because people will just go with, what they hear.
Henry, I'll pivot to you because I know you and I were having conversations about the moderators, and I know you were kind of like furious that they were just kind of letting Trump cook the entire time. But what were your overall kind of takeaways from the debate, given that I think the three of us collectively, being myself, Henry, and Mackenzie, were all kind of crashing out at the same time watching this?
I feel like our group chat was just like active that day crazy. I feel well, one, it was hosted in Atlanta. Fun fact, if you didn't know, Trump shut down the whole highway, had traffic backed up crazy. But I just feel like it would like I kind of feel like what Kayla said, like I really going in, I knew what was gonna happen to some degree. Like of course, we see that Biden age shows more because they're actually like 1 year apart, but Trump still has a little bit more movement,
Fire.
let's just
Yeah.
say. So that was the thing, like he was able to kind of like perform better. And I think again, like the conversation after is shocking a bit because I don't understand this big push for Biden to like possibly step down or like not run. And it's confusing because the Democrats understand what's at stake, assumingly, especially with all this like information about Project 2025. But I also think major media corporations aren't really pushing that information. So that also is playing a part into also what Kayla said, like the misinformation. Because the night of the debate, we didn't have fact checks, and the moderators they weren't really holding their ground as a moderator. Like they were allowing Trump to kind of beat around the bush, not be direct, not answer questions. And again, as Kayla said, he was lying, just blatant lies. And then Biden would kind of try to call him out, but it wouldn't land. I don't think as strongly as we would want to see our candidate, especially again, what's at stake, right? So for I'm really scared. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's my take. Mackenzie, definitely jump in because I want to. You were
Yeah.
going
You were on one. Yeah.
you were going in.
Because I'm honestly not shocked by the conversation asking him to step down because from my point of view, I was shocked of how like lost he sounded. He sounded like it didn't even sound like he was completing some sentences. Like it just sounded like it was very spacey, airy. And Trump and Biden being 1 year apart, and even that clip that we've seen about Maxine Waters saying that she's older than him. So I don't really think it's an age thing. I think it's like one of those things where you're applying for a job and they ask you that question, can you perform these job duties? Like it doesn't have anything to do with age. Can you mark that box? And I really, based on the debate, I was
It
shocked
was
because
bad.
he just
Yeah.
really did not seem there.
Hmm.
And so that's my thought on it. Like I'm not shocked about the conversation. Should he step down? I'm not going to get into that because I don't know if he should or should not. I mean, can he do desk work and do the things that paperwork or whatever that presidents are supposed to do? Can he sit up there and talk to us all the time? Maybe not. Maybe he can't perform that role. But the conversation for him stepping down, I'm honestly not shocked because that
But I
was.
do think, to your point, that's actually, and Kayla, I'll get your thought. I mean, that's a big part of being president is like being able to communicate in those fashions. And I think like that first 5 minutes was really, really hard to watch. And I think as the average person, I think, all of us here are collectively really tuned into politics. But imagine if you had never heard Biden speak in 4 years and that was your first time doing it. That would be like catastrophic, I think, in terms of you like, whoa, what is happening? Um, but I do think like, well, let's say something does happen in the world and Biden needs to sit and communicate with the American people of like, hey, all of a sudden something went bad in Ukraine or something happens in Gaza and there's like a real escalation of stuff. That's where to me it's like the concern of like, can you actually do that work? But Kayla, curious for you, were you seeing anything kind of through the executive T of people kind of just crashing out or being really upset about kind of how things were going?
Yeah, sorry. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm glad that we kind of had the natural segue into like everything that we've been seeing with people telling Biden to step down. And I'm gonna risk sounding like a campaign spokesman because I'm really not trying to do that. I'm not on the campaign, but so I feel like we need to find a balance. Like, I think that he obviously is old. I definitely expected him to be more of a one-term president. Like, the rationale behind running again, I see like how we could, have some questions about it. But I think I'm at the point where I'm like, we need to stop talking about his age. We know how old he is. He's an older man. He has a cabinet around him. He has an administration around him. Worst case scenario, we have a very capable vice president who could step up to that position if that were to happen. But I think the whole conversation is very distracting. Um, and the thing I don't get, it's feeling to me very much like 2016 with Hillary Clinton in her emails. And I don't know if you guys remember one time, I think she had the flu or something, and there was
Yeah.
a thing about her being sick and is she capable? Is she not capable? And these little conversations, I think, come huge distractions because, instead of talking about Donald Trump having 30 criminal charges against him right now, or talking about how he probably shouldn't be on a ballot right now because he almost got, his vice president killed when he was trying to overturn the election results in January 6th. Or, how he's lying about being associated with Project 2025. Those things are all going under the radar and it's all Biden's age. It's Biden dropping out. And I mean, he's
I
told us
forget
not
the
dropping
Epstein
out.
stuff too, though.
Yeah, like there are so many things, and every day for the past week has been is Biden dropping out? Should Biden drop out? And Biden has told us he's not dropping out. He's staying in the race. He's not going anywhere. So, when you see Pelosi today, kind of playing games and not wanting to really say if she would support him or not, saying he should make a decision and he should hurry up with a decision. He wrote a letter to the Hill on Monday telling decision. And I mean, he keeps reiterating this over and over again, on the campaign call. He told his staff, we're here to stay. He said it on Morning Joe on Monday. So I don't really get what the disconnect is, and I don't understand why it's happening internally in the party. And I feel like we're going to look back and it will have really hurt us. No, I don't think Joe Biden is the perfect candidate. Yes, I feel like people have completely valid concerns about his health, his age, but I don't want Trump in office. And I know these are the exact type of games and conversations played that helped elect him in 2016. So, like you were saying earlier, I am really worried about the election because seeing how the party internally is kind of handling this, I think is really concerning. And Trump is going scot-free. I haven't heard anything about Trump in the past week or two. So it's very scary and concerning to me. But no, I don't think he should drop out. I don't think there's enough time at all to get another candidate to become familiar with. Like we are too close to November and it's just not practical. It's not realistic. So yeah, I don't get why this continues to be a conversation. I know he came out at the rally like at the next day after debate and he sounded much stronger. And I do think like the skills you need on a debate stage and on a rally are really different. Again, the debate is all about rapid time, like rapid responding to things. And he's not as up to that now. At the rally, I thought he sounded great. Hearing him speak after that, I thought he sounded good. So yeah, I stand on that.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate and ask you each a question. I think given just I think where everything is, and I think Biden's inability to kind of get himself out of this, um, I think obviously if the election were happened today, he would lose. And I feel that if he stayed in the race, he would lose because I think the things that he needs to do, he cannot. And I think that's a very hard conversation in terms of kind of quelling those fears. Um, if I'm thinking putting my party hat on, and I'll ask Mackenzie and Henry this from a purely just kind of not have Trump in there. I think it should be a conversation, but I think it's a conversation that needs to happen right now with everyone kind of very public with it. The problem is that people are not being very public about what they're thinking. They're saying it's
Pause.
Mhm.
I guess I'm gonna flip your question or whatever question you was about to ask back onto you because now I'm curious to know, like, I'm on Kayla's side with Biden should not based on statistics, he's the only person that can beat Trump. And then on top of that, who is like
I think and
of
here's
Kamala, that will make Howard look great. However, the American people are not going to vote a black woman into office. So
the funny
realistically,
thing the
what are
funny
the
thing is
options?
I would actually agree with you is that that's why everyone needs to be honest about this conversation is because there is a level of transparency that people are saying, oh well, if we don't want Biden, it's also kind of saying we don't also want a black woman. What we need to have that conversation in real time too, because now we're trying to have one conversation while ignoring another. It should be Kamala because that's
Don't you
just
think it's
kind
too
of
late for that conversation though?
I yes, in hindsight, the conversation that should have been a year and a half ago when Mackenzie was teasing Biden about all of this stuff that we talked about at length years ago. Someone else should have primaried him a lot earlier. And a part of this is a party failure. If the Democrats all of a sudden now think that his age is a problem, well, this should have been a problem 18 months ago. Someone should have addressed this and like who's ever Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, should have said, you know what, I'm getting in this because I see the writing on the wall, which I think they all knew. So a part of this is the party failure that they kind of just now have to sit in. And it's kind of too late for them to collectively change now. But I think if I'm just trying to be like as pure, not have Trump in as possible, I don't think Biden, I'm honestly assessing for myself. I don't, Mackenzie, and you chime in if you think
Nah,
differently.
I'm not. I'm not saying
Just
I
that.
don't think,
curious
I don't think
though.
Biden can
I
get him,
still
I
feel
don't think he
like
can get himself out of this. I
like
really don't. I don't think he has the skills and the ability to do what it takes to get himself out. And that's just me really, really being honest.
I feel like, or maybe I'm delusional. I still feel like the American people who voted for him the first time will still see the bigger picture and come out and be like Kayla said, Trump is still not like the good, like we should not be voting for Trump. So I do still feel like he could still beat Trump, all things said. But like you, I do agree that the conversation does need to be had. I think that I mean, it is late in the game, but there's still nothing wrong with having like a huddle, like what's going on as a party, because it does seem like a discord is happening because how are they kind of criticizing him, but still a part of it?
I think we're not
So,
being real. We're not being real about what's in front of us. And I think
yeah,
we're
I
trying
think
to like
To that
handhold it.
point though, to Kayla's point earlier when she said the conversation is the distraction,
I think
I
it is. I
100%.
completely agree too.
Right. So how are you agreeing with that, but also saying
I
they
mean, a conversation can be
people
internal. I do think like internally, if we are behind
If
this
they're gonna
person,
have a conversation internally, I think we need to use all manpower, all hands on deck. We need to get behind him and push the vision.
I mean,
Because
that would be the conversation internally. And I say this even
but
further
that's not
because
the
when we
conversation that's
wait a
happening.
minute, Henry. When we talk about like the media and all of this stuff, yes, I work in the media, so I want to say that everyone is unbiased, but these parties have control and can call somebody and get a story. Now Biden is sitting down with Lester Holt, like I think tomorrow or maybe next week. Now he's doing all of these primetime interviews, which I would assume is to make his image better. So like that's how I feel like internally there's these articles coming out about his age and stuff. How do we change the narrative? That would be my solution to it, of the
I can
internal
understand where
conversation
you're
that then
coming
needs to
from.
be
My
pushed
bad.
out to the masses.
Kayla, the question that I want to ask you is, do you think Biden has the ability to get himself out of this? That is, I think, and as someone who has a campaign background, the candidate is doing the campaign a disservice and making their job harder. And at this point, only Biden can get himself out of this. And do you think he can? Because I don't
I
know if he can.
like he's been trying to, and he's been
Mhm.
trying to redirect the conversation. Like I think on Monday with what he said on Morning Joe and the letter he sent to House Democrats, like he was thinking that that was kind of going to stop things, and it didn't. And I think it's an internal party issue at this point. And I think at some point he really does have to come out and play some type of hardball, which is what people are always feeling is lacking from the Democrats. Like I mean, I don't expect him to come from Nancy Pelosi, but if I'm Joe Biden and you're Nancy Pelosi of all people trying to tell me about age, that would be crazy because I've seen so many people say Nancy Pelosi is out of touch. Nancy Pelosi has been in Congress for how many years? And so for her to kind of fuel that flame is really different. But honestly, I am getting concerned, like I said, because I don't understand what's happening internally in the party. Even seeing George Clooney today coming out and saying that after hosting a fundraiser for Joe Biden three
I
weeks
saw that.
ago,
Yeah.
not even a month ago, I'm just wondering, like, I want to know what's going on behind the scenes. Because for George Clooney, who's been such a long time Democrat supporter of the campaigns, I find it really crazy that he would like come out in the New York Times and make an op-ed like that. And I would love to know what kind of bigger names within the Democratic Party are having these feelings that haven't come out. Because so far we've just seen people that are kind of, I don't want to say irrelevant, but
Lower level.
people that you may not have, most people don't know. And I think there definitely are some concerns at the higher level. Yeah.
I mean, I think my wish is just that, like, I think what you were saying, Mackenzie, is that I think it needs to be a conversation, and like the longer people have of, I think, quelling the conversation, the harder it is to actually have it. Like this conversation is uncomfortable. Having a conversation of like, can Joe Biden do this? That's not like a comfortable conversation. No one wants to have it. But I think it's like if beating Trump is the most important thing and he is this existential threat, and if someone has even 5% chance of doing better than Biden, that's something given the stakes that I think we all need to consider. Because I think then if we get to the other side of this, and then people have been consistently saying that Joe Biden's age is a problem. Now I am kind of on the fence. I don't know what should happen. But this is a failure of like many, many months. But I think if everyone is telling us that this is the biggest thing possible, like the biggest threat ever, if someone else can do a little bit better, I think we owe it to ourselves to have that conversation given the threat. But I don't, Harry, I know you're like thinking
I
through
mean,
it, right?
I agree. Like in general, I think at any point when you're in a problem, you should explore all options. Like I don't think that that's wrong to have the conversation. Now, is it too late? Probably. I don't know. But I do think that the
I don't.
conversation does need to be had because the age conversation had been a conversation when he was running. And we are all in a product of the choices that this party has made. So now when we get to the last minute and you want to have the conversation, it is too late in my opinion, but I don't think that it's unnecessary because then what happens next? Are we
Then I
going to have
think,
a new candidate the next time that has all of these things happening and we don't have a conversation? Like it just seems like the same
and
thing.
So he couldn't run again because when
Well, not with him, but I'm saying
no, but
like
just in
he
general.
wins
it's
in
hopefully
November.
this is an example that like we need to have an internal discussion about this party so that the next time around we kind of don't make these sloppy mistakes, in my opinion.
So uh, I agree that like the leaders of the Democrats, I don't know who, how, whatever.
Everyone, that includes Biden. this is a
Right.
this is a
That
overall failure.
conversation should be had internally, meaning it should not be in the media. People should not be making op-eds. People should not
Agree.
be distracting the American people because I guess to the point of it's too late. What does that do besides like throw us off course if we know Trump does not need to like he doesn't need to be in office?
I think not to cut you off, but I think that undercuts the fact that we're already off course, and it's not getting better in the standpoint of like
That's
there's
arguable. Like if we can if
or rather for context, Henry, today the White House press secretary, Kayla, you can back me up on this. How long did Jean Pierre have a conversation about whether Biden or not has Parkinson's disease? Like it's spiraling to a level where even if it's not true, it's already gone to a place where trying to get people back on that it's really really difficult from like a communication standpoint, from a messaging standpoint, and also like people only have so many times to see Biden, and that debate was such a big moment that he flopped so big on. I don't know if he has another chance to get that back. Not many people are going to watch his convention speech, and if he doesn't nail it out the park, that adds fuel to the fire, and then it's a matter of what can he do to get back on it. And I like I said, I
well,
just have a
again,
lot of
like
doubts. I
with
just have a lot of doubts.
with both of you all knowing way more about politics than myself, who who could stand in and we can say Kamala and play a fool, like, but realistically, who could possibly be Trump?
I think Kamala is the only natural option, but I'd rather explore that because, or like, Kayla, I'll get your opinion. What do you think will happen if
I was just
we?
sitting here, yeah, I was just sitting here doing some math in my head, and we are 4 months away from November. Like, it's just not realistic. In terms of dollars, in terms of like outreach, in terms of developing policy, instead of developing familiarity, instead of in terms of like getting trust from people, there's no way that we have another candidate step in right now. And that's why I think the whole conversation is kind of, I don't get it because there's simply not enough time. And if I'm Biden, like I'm running, spending so much money on ads about the Supreme Court. Because for me, like I'm not gonna lie, I was not very enthusiastic about this election season because I just, was not in it, feeling disappointed like everybody else. But the thing that has really reignited me is the Supreme Court and seeing the rulings that are coming out of it. And we really cannot afford another Trump presidency. I mean, he already has three justices on the Supreme Court. I don't see Biden talking enough about how those justices overturned his student loan relief plan. I don't see him talking enough about like pushing back. And if I'm Joe Biden, which I know he's not going to do this, as an official act of my presidency, I'm going to go ahead and forgive that student loan debt again. If you want to like talk about something that can make a serious impact before election, pausing the federal loans again or doing something with student loan relief that people will feel. I think that's a huge, 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 huge thing. Like, how people
Does
say,
it change anything knowing that he's not going to do any of that? Because I think that's like the frustration is I think like we three have been talking about like you need to do
yeah,
this, this, and this, but it's like he's just not. And I think that's like the frustration is that like the
I
easy
mean,
stuff is
yeah.
there,
And
and
I
it's like
think
you're not helping yourself.
he's also trying to like lean into Project 25 now. I've been seeing like the campaign tweeting about that a lot now, Project 2025. And now Trump is trying to distance himself from it. So again, like I think there just needs to be a lot of pushback. Like Trump, you can't say you don't know about Project 2025 because you do, and people on your campaign are a part of this, and you are very associated with it. You can't say you wouldn't overturn abortion when the three justices you've on the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Like you can't just sit here and lie. So there really needs to be a game of hardball play. There needs to be, I think, a lot of education. People don't know what Biden's been doing. I mean, and I hate that we always wait until election year to start communicating these things because that is another problem with the Democratic Party, the messaging. Like Republicans will win on messaging every time because they know how to sell themselves, whether they're lying, being truthful, like you're gonna know what they're
It's
doing.
consistent.
Yeah, very consistent. And Democrats don't do that. And it's crazy because, Democrats they have the popular stance on issues with with people overwhelmingly support. So it's like, why are you not marketing yourself better? And again, I really do hate that it takes for an election year for this to come, but I think we are getting to that point where 2020, this election is setting itself up to be very crazy. Um, I feel like every year we keep hearing unprecedented, like, and we are gearing up for that again. not knowing if Donald Trump is going to be in jail if he's elected or not. So I think Biden really needs to play hardball, switch up the tactics, knowing how his campaign operates. I'm sure they're probably like pulling in Barack for some stuff. You already saw Barack make that tweet the day after the debate. I know that's
He
definitely
hasn't done much since it.
I know
Oh,
Michelle is going to get pulled in. Like these are probably some of their weapons they're going to pull out. But there definitely is more that needs to be done because we cannot I just feel like we're going to look back after the election if Trump wins and be like, well, the media, like in 2016, where we said the media kind of failed Hillary Clinton, I feel like we're on a really, really similar track that I'm worried about. So,
Henry, I'll get your thought before we wrap up. But if, like, as of today, barring something crazy, as of today, Trump would win. Um, what do you think the conversation that we will be having if Biden loses? Because I do think there is a larger kind of reckoning if we kind of have these conversations and then Biden just loses, which is currently on the path. I think that actually has a very much so a very drastic impact because I think people have consistently been saying in polling that they don't think Biden that they think Biden is too old. Like that's just an uncomfortable reality. People shit, McKenzie's been saying that since 2020. What do you think will happen if kind of it's like people have been consistently saying this and this just happened anyway? I think that actually has the potential to be like a really, really bad thing. But I wonder what your thought would be.
I mean, folks think it's bad now. If Trump get in office, the rest of our life is bad. Like that's realistic. To Kayla's point about the Supreme Court, just them folks got lifetime appointments. It's 3 of Trump, it's 2 Bush, and 1 Bush senior. 2.
HW, yeah, HW.
That's a very conservative court. We've seen what they since Kavanaugh has got on there. They have been striking down rights
Turning up
like crazy. To my understanding, 2 of those justices plan on retiring, which in case Trump gets too big, and that just downfalls. And then with Project 2025, that's not just the Supreme Court, but they're attacking actual government agencies that fund like Social Security. All them folks on Social Security, kiss it goodbye. Like education programs, abortion rights, civil rights, like all of that is realistically on the line. And I guess like for me, like every time I get the chance, I bring to anybody, I talk about it. I'm talking about it. I'm talking about it. Why? Because like I understand how it actually affects me. And I think again, misinformation, the lack of media, and then I guess I would want to pose a question, but you know, but the point I'm making is like, how do you communicate to people who like most people don't watch the news? We get on Twitter, get on social media, and then your algorithm is what you feed it. And now Instagram, they tune out most political ads. And then Twitter is just a wow space. So how and then Facebook, I don't even it's the same as Instagram.
Facebook stopped. They got out of the
So
political ad business.
realistically, how does Biden reach out, get the messaging? Because like Mackenzie, you're cringing at the like so I've heard several Biden commercials where it's a black man kind of in a barbershop say, hey bro, you know how this is gonna affect you, whatever. And like realistically, it's on the radio or it might be on Hulu or whatever little streaming service I'm watching at the time. And that's the most I'm consuming that stuff. And I'm a more tuned in person, brother, have you, whatever. And that's what scares me is like, I'm aware of some of the stuff that Biden is doing, but I'm also tuned into it because I care enough. Most people do not care enough and aren't really synthesizing what is at stake. And that's what I guess for me is the big concern because, like we all know, the president is just a face. It's really Congress, it's his cabinet. Those are the people that are actually doing the work. So I don't care about Biden's age. That man can turn over 3 times in a grave and I'll still vote for him if he was on the ballot. Because I understand like my kids, my nieces, like realistically, bro, it makes me like I got goosebumps. I'm not playing. Like it is that serious to me. So every time I can, I bring it up. I don't think about him not winning because for me it's not an option. Now, if it happens, I then have to ask myself, like, do I have equal rights opportunity to get a job? Am I going to like get killed walking down the street? Am I going to like have health rights? Because that's even hard, you know? So all of that realistically is in my mind, especially y'all know as my close friends, like I'm in a transitional period and it's like I've seen the real of it. It's only gonna get realer. So yeah, bro, like that's my thoughts.
No, I mean, Mackenzie's gonna pivot to you, but I think it's like he has to just, and this is, he hasn't really done what I think you've been saying, Mackenzie, for years and years, where like, hey, you need to have ads on Funny Marco, on Drink Champs, on all these other things, just consistently over and over again, and you're just not doing that. Like, you're not having ads in the spaces that you need to, and it seems like the chickens are coming home to roost a little bit for their indecision to not do a lot of things that we have kind of been saying, yeah, you should probably meet people where they are, and you can't do it 4 months out.
Look, I know we gotta jump soon, but I want to challenge you on that a little bit because I feel like when
Please.
they do that, people are like, "Oh, it's cringe." Like, when the VP was on, or when she appeared at the Essence Festival and that little
Mm-hmm.
segment with Taraji, or like when they do things with celebrities, people are like, "Oh, they're pandering," or like, "Oh, it's cringe." So I feel like there's a little like two-way street with that. So
I
we don't
think
have to go
so.
into like a whole other thing, but I will say I do think that they have been trying. Like I know they've been doing a bunch of stuff with influencers. Like even when they were doing
Mm-hmm.
like the vaccination campaign, they tuned up with a lot of influencers. They've given influencers like press access. Like they've been doing like a lot of things to like connect with small creators. Even when Biden did that, like coming to that family's house in South Carolina and to like having cookout and it on TikTok, like they have been trying to do their organic thing. The reactions to it are kind of mixed, but I will say I feel like they've been doing that. But
Yeah, I think they've been trying. I think there are so many things that I think we would all kind of collectively want them to do that I think feel a little bit more organic in terms of it doesn't feel like it's as kind of stage where it kind of feels like they're specifically trying to make this one play right now with kind of something that has been done 8 times over. And I think it's like you have to meet people where they are. And even if that's just a little drop in an ad where it's kind of like, they're like that cookout, that joint made me cringe a
I
little
think
bit.
Susie should speak because she be the main one. Because, like, to Kayla's point in my head, like they do that, and then y'all challenge is cringy, and
It's
then
not, it's
I walk
not. Can we,
out
this
with
is another real
oh,
conversation. I was trying to let everybody say that this is another real conversation that I think needs to be had. We are beyond the cookouts and the thing about like the radio station thing. When I heard it, I was like, what is this? It wasn't like, oh, what is this? It was just like, what is this? And I do think like with the social creators, I do think that that's a great idea in bringing us into the now and using influencers. That's now. And I'm not saying that people don't hang out at the barbershop or the cookout, but like to Noah's point, we've seen it so many times. I can guarantee you in the next 4 years, we're going to see another cookout. 4 years after that, we're going to see another fried chicken. 4 years after that, we're going to see another hair salon. And it's just like, damn, really? This is the best we could do. And I'm not saying that it's not going anywhere. It might connect with people, but I'm just sick of seeing the same stuff.
There it is. Well, Kayla, thank you for joining us. And before we close out, please let everyone know where they can follow you, but also connect with your amazing platform that is the Executive T.
yeah, you got everyone can reach me at the Executive T on Instagram. Just search the Executive T. And yeah, would love for everyone to follow, check it out. And I'm really excited to keep talking to you all. I feel like I was talking to my friends like the debates. Yeah, so I enjoyed it a lot.
Awesome. Well, be sure to check Kayla out and be sure to check us out where you can follow us on all of our social media platforms at WRGO Pod. Be sure to like, listen, and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast and on YouTube. Till next time.